What's going on, y'all, and welcome back to another Epic 7 video. Today let's talk about everything slime collaboration related. The Tensor X Epic 7 collab is finally here. I've been telling you guys, right, that it might be upcoming. Well, it's official, it's out. We're going to discuss everything from the characters, builds, artifacts, what you need to be prioritizing. And just a quick disclaimer, I've seen a few comments not only on my videos but on other videos talking about how the community as a whole, especially content creators, are mispronouncing the character names. I know a lot of y'all are big anime fans, and so I apologize. Not my words, but some people are getting triggered by my pronunciation of like Milim. Technically, it's Milim, I believe, and then Rimuru. You might hear me lapse into the lazy way of saying it, like Milim. So I apologize. It's not my intention to offend anybody. Maybe as a whole, we can try to make the community shift to saying it properly. But there's one other thing I want to talk about real fast, guys. There is potentially more information coming out that I can't show on screen because it's data mined, and I don't know if we should show that here on the Amazon channel. But it's not looking like it might be Shion. As y'all can see here, she's actually in the connections, the friendship area for Rimu. It might actually be Benimaru. Look at that on your own time. I think some of y'all might be even happier. Let me know if you guys are preferring Shion, Benimaru, or someone else. I think I had a lot of Diablo comments on my main channel. A lot of you guys like Diablo. But yeah, let me know who you prefer, but it might be Benny. All right, so heads up. Okay, without further ado, let's get into the video. If I could just have one quick second of your time, remember if this video helps you out in any way, please consider hitting the subscribe button. We're trying to boost those numbers up. It would mean so much to me. And second, this video is of course sponsored by Amazon and the Amazon Appstore. Remember to use these coins if you want to get a discount on any in-game purchases for Epic 7, along a ton of other great games. Remember, just download Epic 7 via the Amazon Appstore, go into the game, load up those coins, and just get those juicy discounts. So use all the links in the description below. Thank you guys for being cool with these shout outs, and let's get back to the video. All right, first things first, let's discuss the exclusive equipments, as I think this is the juiciest and craziest part of the entire event, because a lot of us are returning players or veteran players that have already done the previous slime event. This is brand new Smilegate. I never thought they would give collaboration units EEs, exclusive equipments, but if you take note of this line here, guys, that I've highlighted, players will only be able to obtain the exclusive equipment for 5-star Shuna and Milim during the collaboration period. That means if you miss out on this 2-3 week, whatever month-long run, but you got them last year, well, you'll have a Milim that doesn't have her EE, a Shuna that doesn't have her EE, for example, which feels really bad. So make sure y'all play and take advantage, and we'll talk about which ones I think you should pick if we have a choice. The way I think it's going to work is, guys, we're going to be able to farm for these via energy in the story event. And on top of that, I think we've had some experience or previous examples where we've been able to pick up gear like this or exclusive equipment, and that means it's going to be roll at the max roll. So for Milim's here, it'll have 12 crit. For Shuna's, it'll 14 health. You don't have to re-roll or try to get multiple copies to get like a perfect roll. I think that would be kind of a shame if they do that. But in case they don't let us pick all of them, guys, let's say you only have enough resources to pick one or two. Let's say you only have time to pick one, or they just limit them, which I hope they don't. Hopefully we get all three if we play enough, right? Then let's just discuss which ones are the best overall. So for Milim here, we have 12% crit. Take note, guys, if you have your Milim built appropriately, you're probably, you know, either 99, 100, you're crit capped or very close to it. You will have to adjust some stats here and there. If you're on a crit chance neck, my veteran players, you're gonna have to do some, you know, a little bit of moving around on the gear, but overall the stat boost is very welcome. I don't think she needed it, but hey, I'm not complaining. Now, in terms of which skill enhancement is best for EE, I think it's we can break it down into two choices. Either the skill 1, the Dragon Dive, or the skill 3, the Dragon Fear. And just take a look at what kind of playstyle, what kind of account, what kind of gear the game has given you so far. You can kind of feel what kind of playstyle you gravitate towards, what kind of playstyle you've been playing this season for RTA or in Arena, Guild Wars, etc. And it breaks down like this, guys. If you are a slower, tankier style player, you're on counter set or on the Knuckles artifact, then I think the skill 1 is going to be the clear choice. It synergizes so well with those counter aspects. It's going to make that skill 1, you know, the amount recovered by 20% is very nice overall. Now, if you were a more aggressive style player, faster, balls to the wall damage, and you're on book, etc., then go for the Dragon Fear, as this is insane tempo, getting that additional focus is very nice for that build. I think that's as simple as it is. It's not a hard choice. Hopefully we get all of them, but I do think, guys, the skill 2 is the weakest overall, as Dragon Buster, 10% damage. Hey, damage is damage. We're not complaining, but Dragon Buster, the overall damage it contributes to a match for Milim, if it even goes off, you know, it's not as impactful, I think, as skill 1 or skill 2, or excuse me, skill 3, the Dragon Fear. Now for Shuna, Guys, Shuna buffs are live. I haven't had too much experience with her yet. I do plan to build her, but I have been looking at, I have fought a few. I have seen what they're changing with her abilities. She's getting health, which is very, very welcome. With the removal of focus and the buffs overall, I think she's going to be a great unit for a lot of players. And it's kudos to Smilegate for making a free hero. If you guys are newer to the game, a lot of times these free heroes that they include in these collaboration runs are kind of the weaker of the bunch, and a lot of times they get swept under the rug. You know, they're just not good enough to compete with the rest. But Shuna, I think, is shaping up to be a definitely viable unit. Maybe she's insane. We'll see as time progresses and her exclusive equipment is unlocked. But overall, I think the choice here would be between the 30% combat readiness on the Blooming Lotus or bringing that 85% sleep to 100% just for that RNG consistency. She has a non-contact AoE sleep on that sleeping spell, which is so insane. I think having that 100% chance is very, very nice. If you guys have been playtesting Shuna yourself after these balance patch tests are live, let us know your experience, and maybe you guys can give us a little bit more insight on which one you think overall will be best. Next up, let's briefly talk about the different types of Milim builds. We sort of mentioned it here with the exclusive equipments on the different styles, and I think that's how we're going to break it down here, guys. Let's start with the slower bruiser style builds if you plan to play that route with Milim. I think there's two distinct choices here, and remember, guys, both Milim and Rimuru are both varied. They've been used in different ways throughout the entire meta for their year-plus run they've been out, and I think I've seen so many different styles of builds for these two units. There's no clear-cut like cookie-cutter stats that y'all can just copy-paste. I think it's really going to be varied upon your own style, what kind of units you accompany these, or you know, your normal units you usually play, especially for modes like real-time arena. So take note of that, guys. There's no clear-cut winner, but I'll discuss a few things to help you guys guide on where maybe you will end up building your Milim and Rimu. So let's start with Milim here, guys, and I have the Dragon Knuckles. I mentioned this is my artifact of choice for her, but I will say this is the build I'm rocking. It's very similar to the sort of lifesteal tanky Spectre Tenebria build, as they are both mages. We can't get too much bulk on mages, obviously, and we still want to prioritize having a lot of damage, as they are, at the end of the day, still damage dealers. We just emphasize some additional bulk on top of that, while still maintaining, you know, the offensive stats, attack, crit damage, and speed. Now, if you guys can go for this on top of Knuckles and go lifesteal, this is one example build alongside penetration set. Of course, I think that is a clear-cut winner for Milim. But overall, I think for a lot of y'all watching, a more versatile, well-rounded, kind of best of both worlds build is actually, if you still want to stay on counter set with the S1EE, is to go counter set, counter pen, plus Taga Hell's Book. That's going to give you access to 20 souls, in which case you can still sometimes play more aggressive. Let's say your opponent is a little bit slower, and you can take advantage of a quick kill of the Soulburn Milim of skill 1 into skill 3, or just having 20 souls for other Soulburn characters. I think that's going to let you play a little bit more flexible and not all in on this tanky counter style. The Dragon Knuckles on lifesteal is really if you want to hammer home and be super slow, still take advantage of that insane life gain while still being able to counter. Just take note, guys, here that it is only a non-critical hits, so it is a little bit worse off than a straight counter set. But that's the two choices, guys. So overall, if you do decide to go for the Knuckles, which we're going to I'll talk about the Knuckles artifact here in just a minute, but the two builds are either lifesteal plus the Dragon Knuckles with the pen set accompanying, or counter set with pen set and Taga Hells, in my opinion. I think a lot of y'all watching will probably be better off starting, especially if you can get plus 30 Knuckles, to start with counter set plus pen and the Taga Hell's Book, and that's just going to let you play a lot more flexible. Now, if you guys are way more aggressive, the build is obviously just drop all this bulk for more speed, up to a point wherever you guys feel like the speed will line up with the rest of your style. There's so many different types of aggro and cleave, guys. That's going to be up to you, and then you just go all in on damage and emphasize that early Soulburn skill 1, skill 3. Now you're going to have that exclusive equipment as well to give you additional focus when you do land a kill with that Dragon Fear. So aggressive players, your build is much simpler. Just slap on Book, pen set, and then speed or destruction set, all damage. Now, in terms of the artifact, let's go ahead and focus on the artifact here. Is it a must pull, guys? Not really. But if you are a collectionist, you do want to pick up one. As like I say, you never know if Slime is... We weren't even sure if Slime was going to come out this year. Try to pick up one copy just in case you want to dabble with it later. But unfortunately, it is a whale style artifact, meaning you really want to have this maxed out. Otherwise, I don't think it's worth running. It already feels inconsistent because of the non-critical hit line here. It's not going to feel as good as a counter set, so you really need to make sure it's maxed out. If you're an aggressive player, obviously you don't need this. Just run Taga Hells. If you're a tankier player, pick up one copy if you want to decide to do it later, and start on the counter set plus target health, and I think that's going to be the best overall. Next up, guys, we have Rimuru Tempest, who unfortunately, compared to how he was when he was released in the first iteration of the slime run, they dubbed him one of the 7, I think it's called 7 Deadly Disasters, guys, whatever it was. He used to be such a terror, one of the most powerful units in the game on his release. Headache, first picked in every match, felt good, oppressive in every single game he was played in. Nowadays, though, I think he's fallen off. Not a ton. He's still a good unit overall, but you have to pick him much more carefully. And the way I and a lot of players pick him is more of a tool set now. Use him to fight certain specific units and comps instead of as a proactive, like, first pick material. So for me personally, guys, now admittedly, I'm not like over the moon over this build. I only pick him maybe once every 20 games, if that. It's really just right now versus Lycas, and even then, I'm going to try him against Inos, but I only use him to counter certain units, as I think he's not quite as good as he was, like I mentioned, on his first release. So for my build, I kind of just went for a varied bruiser style build. Make sure we have enough damage. His attack is very low, though. Overall, his offensive abilities are only meant to kill squishies. I interrupt the Leica, we cut, and we get to blow something up here with a portrait. Now, overall, though, you guys can build him a ton of different ways, just like the Milim. Some people prefer the 2-2-2 build, like with pen set, crit set, and immunity. Some people want to build him on maybe like destruction, go for way more damage. Some people build him even faster if you're a more aggressive style player. Just try to find where you think Rimuru will fit your style. I think a lot of people pick him versus whenever I pick Maid, and sometimes that can be an issue. Go for a higher damage build, and then sometimes you can even, especially like for Guild Wars, just still slap on Proof of Valor, and he'll be, you know, tanky enough after his skill 3. But the long story short is, guys, Rimuru is no longer, at least in the higher levels of play, a like first pick material unit you're going to want to pick in every single match, and instead you're going to pick him more carefully, more nuanced when you want to fight certain combat situations. So I do think he's still an important pickup, but actually I think Milim, if you have to choose between Milim and Rimuru, I do think Milim is looking a lot nicer in this meta, and he's even getting better with that exclusive equipment. But nonetheless, make sure you get both. He still is no slouch. He still brings unique aspects to the game in terms of his kit, and so you want to make sure you pick him up in general. Now let's quickly talk about his artifact. Rimuru's artifact, Anti-Magic Mask, has a 100% chance at max limit break. So once again, unfortunately, kind of a will artifact. If you do decide to play this, will grant a random buff for 2 turns between immunity, attack, increased defense, increased crit damage, and speed. So very nice buffs, but it does have that RNG element where you might pull a stat or a buff that you don't need at the at the wrong time. Now in the past, people actually really like this already, like way back when during its first release. I knew it's like Apocalypse Ravi, but nowadays, guys, I haven't seen this used at all. In my opinion, I think there's more solid, less RNG focused artifacts. The kind of meta is shifting away from artifacts like Anti-Magic Mask, but I think in areas like Guild Wars, maybe it has potential. Rimuru alone on his kit has, you know, some RNG potential after you skill 1s, so maybe it's not needed. I think there is more solid arties, like I mentioned, things like Proof of Valor. I'm using Portrait. Some people like Samsara Prayer Beads if you want to go for both damage and defensive capabilities. I think he's so versatile that you kind of want to play him how you want, but if you are going to be deciding to pull on, you know, let's say you have limited bookmarks, guys, this is not a priority. Grab one because this is a collaboration and it may never come back, so you don't want to regret not having it. And if you do decide to use it, like I mentioned, you can always bottle it later. So pick one up via powder. If you get one along the way on pulling for a Rimuru, then hey, even better. But don't worry about wailing out on this, as I don't think it is currently a meta artifact by any means. Alrighty, y'all. In closing, good luck on your summons when slime eventually rolls around very soon here. Make sure you pick up those exclusive equipments we discussed. Make sure you pick up one of both Milim, Rimuru, and their respective artifacts, as this is a collab limited event. You don't want to miss out and regret not having at least one of each. You can always slate and bottle them respectively later. And last but not least, guys, fingers crossed, pray for Xion, but it's looking like Benimaru might be the unit that's coming out. We'll have to see very soon here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate every single one of you. I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out, guys.